Welcome to the Perfect Mind Martial Arts Day 4 webinar. Today we're going to talk about how to design pages within your social site, how to create emails and send emails automatically, and we're also going to talk about how to use the Documents tab in our Office. To get started, I'm going to start off with our emailing. So we're going to go to our Office, and we're going to go to Emails. You'll see some things that are quite familiar, such as a to field, a subject line, and a body area for your email. You'll also have a from it area if you have multiple email accounts set up, which we talked about on our Day 1 webinar. If you don't, this from area will not be visible as it will always come from the same account. If you have more than one, you will need to select which email account you want to send from. So for example, do you want to send from info@martialarts.com or do you want to send from instructor@martialarts.com? The next part of this is also our saving mechanism. So we can save our template or our draft, whatever we've made here. If we're not quite ready to send it out or we want to save it for future use, we're going to click Save Template. From here we'll be able to select which folder we want to save it into and we'll be able to name it and then save. On the left here you'll see we have different types of folders. If you'd like to add an additional folder, click New Folder, name your folder. If you have multiple locations, you can select who is going to have permission. And even if you just have one location, you can leave it as headquarters and select if your administrator or employees will have access to the folder to work with the emails. And then you'd click Grant Access and Save. If it's only you and other global administrators working on this email, you do not have to give any access. Once you're done, save. You'll be able to access your folders later on, where you'll have some stored information. By default, your program will come with newsletters and seasonal, which will have templates within them. Drafts is one that I created for myself just so I can keep all my email drafts in one area. To make a new email, click New Email. We also have two spots up here at the top right. So we have social sharing. What that means is your email will come along with a few buttons, okay? Like a Facebook button, a Twitter button, an email button, a broad sharing button, okay? And the broad sharing button will allow you to share within like LinkedIn, MySpace, different types of less popular but still important social sharing networks. You want to attach this to emails that would be like newsletters, promotional, or just general information so that you kind of want to entice people to want to share this with their friends and their family, right? So if they see something really cool that you've emailed them, they might want to share it. And if they share it, that helps bring in some business by attracting them to your school. Sometimes we may not want to use social sharing. For example, if we send a delinquency email or we miss you email, we probably don't want to have this button checked. Lastly, we have our object here. So object just refers to how this email is being sent out. So if we refer to contact, that means our lists that are located here under to, which I'll talk about a little later on, are related to the contact's profile. So their birthday, their emails, their activities, all that kind of stuff can be found within this list. If I go to something more like invoice, now I'm basing emails off of invoices. For example, delinquent invoices. So if I go back to the list, we can see it's changed to reflect missed payment invoices. Okay, so then we would send emails to the people who are related to the missed payments. I'm going to keep it with contact for today so that we can go through some of the basics. So we can also build our email. I'm going to talk about how to really use this HTML editor as we move through the program. You can take a peek at some of these options and you'll see that they're quite similar to, say, Microsoft Word, OpenOffice, or even a Pages document. If you're familiar with code, there's also an HTML area where you can actually add your code in. So we're going to talk about our to field. If I click here, I will have lists that I can work with. If I click on all, I would be sending to all my students. Okay, so I could click here and go insert, or I could just click on the word all. If I make a mistake, I can hit the X. If I only want to send to particular people, so I could work with all, or I could work with a group, and then choose the list. So we'll say go to list. So for example, if I want to see all the contacts that have emails, because that's only 10 instead of 12, I'll go to list. From here I can select the contacts I want to send to and insert. If you have multiple pages, you have to add per page. If you enter 20 people on one page and go to the next page, most likely you will lose what you had done previously, okay? So you'd go insert, come back, go to page 2, insert, and so forth. You can also find people, so if you're trying to find just one specific person, type in Brooke, there's James Brooke. So what a list is it's basically a set of filtering criteria. So when I'm in my list here, I want to open up, say, 2 classes left. Okay, so I'm going to attach that. But what if I'm curious about what that's made out of? So I'll go checkbox and I'll go edit. I can see that this is a type of criteria, which I could edit and change if I wanted to. What you can do as well is make your own particular list. So I'm going to teach you how to use this list and how to set it up. First thing we need to do is name our list. The object is going to depend on what we're trying to do. So when we think of an object, it's basically the page, and on that page are fields. So if we think about our contacts profile, it is an object, and within that object there are fields that describe our contact. So I'm going to go into contact here. I'm going to go to Andrew Smith. So if we look at Andrew Smith, he's got, a first name, a last name, and so forth. This is the page, okay, and the information on the page is what we're going to use to try and filter. So if someone's birthday is today, then we would filter to say, if your birthday is today, send an automated email or send an email. Most of the time when we're sending just like a group email, we would either say we're going to send it to our active list, so we're sending a newsletter, or maybe if you have just a lot of followers and not as many active students, you could say all contacts with email. Okay, so it depends what kind of email you're sending out, and then you go insert and send. In terms of automation, we're going to work with things like today's birthday list. So we're going to go back to new list. I'm going to show you how to create a welcome email. We're going to work with contact, right? Because we want to base it off of the contact's created date so that as soon as they sign up, they get a welcome letter. There are other options. For example, if they signed up because of a certain campaign, okay, if they signed up because of a particular main interest, those would all work. Okay, so we're going to stick with contact and we're going to go to field. All the fields that we have here, we know are available on our contact's profile. Okay, so we see all kinds of stuff. What's their next rank? What's their photo? Do they have any unique info? What's their street? All kinds of information we can base a filter on. For this particular email, I'm going to say it's based off of their created date. So this is the day that that file was made. The next part is the operand. The operand means how does my field connect to my value? Okay? So it's kind of a little bit of a math equation, and it also kind of needs to sound like a sentence. So if it doesn't make sense, the filter probably isn't going to work. Okay, so if we said created date is less than, and we put some random, date in 1982, it's probably not going to work. We want to say the created date, in this case, equals something. We don't want it to equal June 1st at 12 a.m. because that's today, and that means no one's going to get it. We want this to check every single day and say, oh, a new person's been made, I'm going to email them. We want a dynamic value. So we're going to click on the boxes, and we're going to choose today. However, if you're curious, we do have additional types of values. For example, last n days. That means you could put a number in here. So it could be last 30 days, last 7 days, next 10 days, next week. All kinds of different options here, okay? We would add that information in, so I'll go today. And the most important thing that I do here is click add. The second part of this is that we can add more than one line of criteria. So the contact's created date equals today, and maybe I want to compare this to a campaign they're part of. So I want to say their campaign name equals whatever the name of the campaign is. If we want to use something like equals, we want to make sure that we spell it exactly the same as it is in the system. If you're not really sure, you just know it contains the word website, go with contains and website. Okay, and then you don't have to be as careful with your wording. Add the criteria. I've got 2 lines now, and you see I have a new section at the bottom called advanced filtering. So as soon as I have more than one line of criteria, it's asking me, do I want this to be this and that, or do I want something more specific? So I could say the contact's campaign name, okay, so the contact was made today, their campaign name is this, that's 1 and 2. I could get really confusing and say, and I could add in 2 more lines, maybe the contact gender equals female, and something else. So what you're basically doing is making some basic equations down here. Or you could say they're created today and their campaign name is this, or their campaign name contains SMO, for example. Alright, so then I could say 1 and I would say either 2 or 3. So what I'm saying is they have to be created today and their campaign is this, or their campaign is that. Okay, so that's how you use an advanced filter. So I've made my filter. What I would do at the end is save it, but I've already got that filter here, so we don't need to worry. The next step is I want to automate this, okay? So if I look at my list here, I want to automate today's birthday list. So we'll set that up. So we'll check off the box and we can either click insert or we can just click on the name. I'm going to remove the other one I added earlier. I can throw in my subject and my body of my email. With the body of the email, I'll be able to also insert something called merge tags. So merge tags basically allow me to merge in pieces of my contacts' information directly into my email. So if I'm sending out 400 emails, for example, and I want each one to say, hello Bob, hello Jane, each individual person to be addressed, I need to use a merge field. So I got merge fields here on the right-hand side. I've got one for the subject line, and I have one for the body of the email. So I could say dear space, and then I can go in here and I can select, for example, first name. One thing we want to be really mindful here is if we're going to use full name, please always, always, always use full name symbol. The one called full name comes with their tags, for example, hearts, X's, DLs, and CLs. So if we don't want to send out strange looking emails, I highly recommend sitting with full name simple, which will just be their name. Treat it as if it's a word and type all around it. If you need to add in additional information, you can have many merge tags in here. If you can't find the one you're looking for, click on the word contact at the top and you may find some more information. For example, rank, you want to click on current rank, and you want to click on name. So you want the name of the rank to merge in. So that is a merge field. You can do the exact same thing here in the subject line. So now we want to send out this birthday list automatically. We don't want to have to think about it. Every day we want the system to check, see if anyone's having a birthday, and we want it to go out. Down here at the bottom we'll see send when criteria met. We're going to click on the button. Delivery method one time or every time the criteria is met. So one time means it just goes out once, which is usually the one I use. Every time means it sends out several times for the same record. So one time pretty much always will work best for you. The start date, so the start date will default to today at 12 a.m. So we cannot send email into the past, so we just need to bump that ahead. Right now it is almost 3 o'clock, so I would go with 3 p.m. The expiry date, well, we don't really want this to expire tomorrow because maybe only one person will get an email. So I'm going to click on the calendar. I'm going to pick a year in the future, not beyond 2030, just something like 2020. And I need to pick a day to keep that in check. Once I'm done, the reminder, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's 20 years into, not 20 years, but 8 years into the future, but I could pick a different day. I'm going to the top and I'm going to click auto send. Once I click auto send, this is going to save into my scheduled folder on the left hand side. My scheduled emails will be sorted by their subject name, so I didn't name these two. I'm able to check off the box and delete them at any time, so if I want to cancel that email. I can also click on the email itself and modify it at any time. Once I've done my modifications, I need to bump the date up to the future, and I can click auto send where it will be saved here and scheduled. If you want to work with some of the templates that we have in here, you can click on them. They'll load up. You can change the pictures and the text as you need to. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the HTML designing of the website, which is going to talk about how we could modify this and just how we can modify our pages in general. I'm going to work with one of my hidden pages. I'm just going to clear it out so that we can start fresh. Okay. I have two options for designing. I have desktop mode and mobile mode. So what that means is that I can design it for a computer desktop and I can design it for a mobile. Not everyone designs it for a mobile, that's okay, it just means it wouldn't appear. So you'd be able to fill that in, or if someone's viewing with a mobile device, they'll also be able to select to see your desktop version as well. Okay, so it depends on what you have set up here. This is just a more slender version of your page. So sticking with desktop here, I have several buttons along the top. So the first one here, this A, that means I can color my text. So if I type something in, I can highlight, choose a color, and there you go. I can also highlight my text, so that's the paint bucket here, so I'll go yellow, so you can see it's highlighted in green. I can go full screen. I can click on this little computer again to go back to normal. I can do spell check. I can change my font size. Make caps to small letters, make small letters to capitals, bold, italic, underline, and strike through, bullets and numbering, and indentation. When I do bullets, I always indent first and then put in bullets to make sure that the indentation works properly. I also have start a new paragraph if you need to use that. I have the left hand alignment, center alignment, right alignment, and justified and no alignment. I have back and I have forward. I can also zoom in. Here are my table options. I can add a picture, a movie, a flash video. I can add a document, form, which we talked about on our day 3 lesson. I can also add in links and break links. I can add in symbols. I can also add in timestamps. So those are probably the most important pieces that you need to know about these different symbols. One of the most used features is also going to be adding a picture. So I'm going to click on the little mountain here with the sun. And then I can select a photo that I've already uploaded, or I can click upload and upload a new photo. I can upload several at a time, so if I don't want to just upload 3, I want to add more, I'll just add, and that adds more rows. If I make a mistake, I can hit the X and remove. To add the photo, I can just click on the white space or click on select, and I can grab the photo from my hard drive. These are all the accepted formats that you can upload. Overwrite if file exists will overwrite the file if it already exists and you're uploading a new one. So the name and the extension would be the same. Once you've selected your photo or photos, you can click upload, and that will upload the photos into your miniature FTP storage here. So if you want to delete one, you can always just click on it, rename it, or delete it, or just click on it and hit delete. I can also work with the properties directly through here, so I do almost everything in Firefox. If you're working with Chrome, you'll have to use the properties to resize. If you're working with Internet Explorer, depending on which version you have, you'll either be able to drag the corners of the photo or you'll have to set the proportions yourself through here, so the height and the width. If you are choosing your height and the width through here, you'll need to lock that to keep the proportions constrained so that the picture doesn't get all funny looking. Border color, border width, alternate text, so when you mouse over, how is the picture going to be aligned, and its margins. So I'm going to go with nothing right now. I'm just going to pick these lemurs. I'm then going to shrink them down by just dragging the corners, so that's a benefit of Firefox. If I start typing, I can only type down here at the bottom, and it's kind of close to the picture. So if I want to be a little more careful with my design, I can go click on the picture. I can even actually scroll down to the bottom of the page, and I'll have an alignment option here, so I'll go left. You can see my text automatically wraps and aligns with the picture. Now it's very close. That's a little too close for me, so I can right-click, Properties. Here I can select the margin, so I'm going to say the right margin is 10. So I usually do between 5 and 15. And OK, and you can see that my text is spaced away from my picture. You also can use some of the tips in here, so the width, the height, the border color, and so forth. If I want to add a link, I can click on the picture or highlight the text and click one of the little worlds here. So I'll click the world with the closed chain link to add a link. Enter the URL of the website you want to link it to, or the page you want to link it to. The link text is just whatever you've highlighted. Target, so for example, if it's a Facebook button, you might want to say open it in a new window so it doesn't take them away from your site. Or if it's within the site, you might want to just leave it as none. There's also anchors, so if you need to use anchors, that is available. There's email, so if this is going to be sent to an email address, then we need this to be filled in here. So you'd say your email address, and if you wanted to, a subject. The anchor here, if you're not familiar with anchors, that just means like you have, maybe you're anchoring this top part here to somewhere down the page. So you'd highlight it, you'd name it OK. Somewhere down the page, I'd type something in. I'd highlight it, okay, so it's way down there. I've got like a menu up here at the top. I'd go back to the link, and I'd have the anchor as my example. I'd click OK, so that when I click here, it takes me down to here. So that's how an anchor works. So I'm going to erase all this, and I'm going to move into the next step, which is tables. So tables will help you align things a little bit nicer, so your pictures and text can be nicely aligned. It also means you can change some of the background colors and different things that you're doing. Pretty much all websites out there right now are made of like table within table within table. So tables are pretty important. There's 2 options for table, a quick table. Okay, so you can just pick it this way, or you can go through the properties. I like to just do it this way and go through the properties. So I'll click on that little window here with the plus. How many columns? I'm not really sure. We'll just say 5. How many rows? I'm not sure. I'll just say 3. Cell padding, so how close can the cells be to each other, or so how close can the text be to the cell? I usually say 5. Cell spacing, how close can the cells be to each other? 2. Border if I want one. Next, I'm going to go to properties. I can say 100% so that I know my table will fit any screen. If the table is being built into another table, it will fit that one spot. And OK. So I've got these nice little gray lines to help me figure out where I'm at. If I type in, I'll see some words pop up. If I want, I can center them within that cell. I can set the justification of the text in the cell. So if I type here and I go to the next cell, we'll notice that it starts in the middle. That's how it's justified. So if I go down to the bottom of the page here, I can adjust that. So I can say top left. Okay, and you can see now it's at the top left. If I want to adjust all of these to be the top left, I can actually go down to cell properties here. I can hold down the control key on my keyboard and select all these cells to be top left alignment. So it doesn't matter where I start, it's going to start at the top left now. That's pretty easy. So the next part, if we want, we can also change the size of these cells so they don't have to be completely proportionate here. So I want 2 spacers here and here. So I can change this to say 10. So I'm going to start with the top row here. I'll go down to the bottom, I'll say that the width is 10. We'll see it's shrank. I'm going to do that over here too. Width is 10. I click and it's shrank. So that's pretty easy. Other options, I can always right click, and I've got lots of options here. Or there's some still at the bottom as well. So if I click here and I want to color the background, where it says background there's a little paint bucket, I can say that it's purple. So you can see that's purple now. I can then say I want to add another row, so I could right click here, insert row below, and it adds the same kind of system as before. So whatever that was, if this was purple, it moves the second one into purple too. But you can always clear that by clicking, going to the bottom, going to your color here, and changing it. Okay, so that would put it right back. You can also add more columns, so it would be the same idea. Insert column to the right or left. I can also merge or delete. So if I'm like, I don't want this row anymore, I can right click and go delete row. Same for a column. I can also merge, so if I want to merge this whole row together, I could say merge cells horizontally. Okay, and I can just keep saying that. Okay, so you can see it's one long line now. I can also split a cell, so if I want to split this one in the middle, I can right click, split cell horizontally, and if I want, I can even split it vertically, or I can delete it. If I don't want that cell, I can just right click and delete. I can also access my table properties anytime. So this is how you're going to work with your table to help you build your newsletters, build your pages, and different things. The last part of today's lesson, we're going to talk about our documents. So I'm in my office now, and I'm going to head over to Documents. Documents will allow me to merge different pieces of information about contacts, invoices, transactions, and so forth into a letter format that I can print. So on the left-hand side, we have several different folders. You can add a new folder by going New, Folder, and naming your folder, and save. You can also add new documents to folders by clicking on the folder, New, Document, and after you save, you can select your folder. To upload a new document, click on Upload. If you want the document to work, it must be in PDF, Word, Excel, or PowerPoint format. For Word, it needs to be a docx. So you have different types of folders to save into. So you click Browse, grab your item, pick your folder, and click Upload. You can also start a document from scratch. So you can go New, Document, where it says Untitled Document. I can actually put my title in here. So I could call it, a student letter, and OK. And then I can work with it. I've got some limited fields available here, sort of like my HTML editor, so I can add in a table if I need to and space it out. Sometimes I even just copy from Word directly into here. The formatting will be a little bit strange, but you'll be able to format it to where you want it to be. So you can type in whatever you like to say, and like we talked about with email, there are merge fields. So to get my merge fields active, I need to go Mail Merge. And then I have to select my primary object, just like I do with email. So if I want to merge in some contact information, I'll use Contact. If I want to use more advanced information, I could use, for example, purchased item or payment, or even invoice. So if I wanted to make something about an invoice, these are 3 different types of item I'd want to use that I could merge in fields from. So I'm going to start with contact, okay? And I'm going to go insert merge field. So for example, I could go to insert merge field and grab my contact's full name simple, just like we talked about earlier. Comma, welcome, blah, 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 blah. And I could enter the first day that they started. Like, we're welcoming you, thank you for joining up on such and such date. So I could go insert merge field, and then I could find create a date. So as I move along through here, just like email, I can access multiple levels of merge. So I could go insert merge field, I can click on contact at the top, current rank, and name. So I'd be able to put that in there as well. I've got my fonts, my sizes, and so forth that I can work with too. If I go insert next record tag, space, and I copy this all again, that means on the same page I can print out several people at once. So if we look at our ID cards, you'll actually see that. I see if I just open that. I can't open that yet, but if I went to ID cards and I opened up the ID card document, okay, because this one's Word, I need to click here to download. I'm going to open that up. You'll see next record tags in here. So keeping this in mind, if we are working with ID cards, you do want to open this document first and modify it a little bit. So you want to put in your company name, your logo, and you want to do that for each section on this page. Don't worry about next record tag being here, okay, and interfering with your company name. It's going to be invisible, so that's actually not going to be the way it looks. It will be centered just like the first one here. Then you would save this document. You'd probably want to upload it, so you can go to upload. You'd be able to select contact ID card from your hard drive, the one you just saved, and click upload, and it would overwrite. Okay, so that's important to remember. Now to merge, you can do this with either the document you just made or this type of document, it doesn't really matter. You can start typing in people's names, so for example, Laura. Or if I want, I can actually choose from lists, just like I could in email. So I'll click on merge. I can check off a list if I want a whole list, or I can go to list and find the people that I'd want to tag in and insert. I would then click merge document. It'll ask me if I want to open it up with Word. So yes, I do. And there we go. There's Jim Smith and Laura. So she had a picture, Jim doesn't. That's why that looks like that. And then I would print it from Word. So that one's pretty easy. Also, if you're using one that we've made or that you've made through the HTML, like I showed you how to first make, you'll be able to actually see a copy without having to go to Word. So if I wanted to merge in someone here, I could just choose one of these invoices. So I'll just pick this invoice randomly here, insert, print document. It's actually going to open up something for me to see here in the background, so I'd be able to see what's going to be merged in, and then I can print. At any point, you can also delete documents and folders. You can even right-click to rename or delete a folder. And we can also go directly into different types of categories to print them out. So if we go into contacts, we're going to notice there's actually a print button available. And this button is available both in the list of contacts and also just on the contacts profile itself. So if I went into Andrew Smith's profile, I'd have a print button way over here. And I could click on it. It would bring up all the different types I have. Or I could just go back to contacts and I could select several people. So if I want to click all, I could just click on the top one here, or if I just want to click a couple, I could just check off their boxes. Once again, I can scroll over to print, and then I can choose my documents. I'm going to go with contact ID cards. It's going to open up with Word again, and there I have it, and I can print it right out. So that concludes our Day 4 lesson. I hope you enjoyed all 4 lessons, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.